Center for the Study of World Religions, Harvard Divinity School.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Charles Stang. I serve as the faculty director of the Center for the Study of World Religions. That means I'm a faculty member here at the Divinity School, but for the past 7 years, I have been, along with a wonderful team of people I'll soon introduce, been running the Center for the Study of World Religions, which is a building across the street under the aegis of Harvard Divinity School. We were pleased to welcome the speakers there yesterday evening for a reception. Unfortunately, we can't welcome you to the center because our event spaces are rather small. So on the other hand, it means that we can welcome you to the Divinity School. So on behalf of our wonderful Dean, Marla Frederick, and the faculty of the Divinity School, I welcome you here to the James Room. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the third annual conference on psychedelics and spirituality here at the Divinity School. The Divinity School, of course, is also one of the schools that comprise the wider university. As we open the event today, I want to remind us, however, that Harvard University is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Massachusetts, the original inhabitants of what is now known as Boston and Cambridge. We pay respects to the people of the Massachusetts tribe, past and present, and we honor the land itself, which remains sacred to the Massachusetts people. While reparations and rematriation remain largely theoretical at the institutional level, I implore you, if you have resources, to donate to organizations supporting the living indigenous communities here in Massachusetts, such as the North American Indian Center of Boston and the Massachusetts Center for Native American Awareness. Recognition and support of the indigenous people from whom this land was taken is indeed imperative for any event dedicated to psychedelic scholarship. Many of these chemicals now used in research are known to the labs and clinics today through acts of cultural theft from myriad indigenous peoples around the world. Our work must confront the harm done to communities who stewarded these plants and fungi for centuries and millennia. And it's a concern I ask that we all hold in our heads and our hearts throughout today's event as we return to our research and practice. So, today's conference and the Center's broader programming on psychedelics and spirituality is made possible by the generous gift of the Gracias Family Foundation, which gift has allowed the university to establish the Harvard Study of Psychedelics in Society and Culture, which stands out among universities' investments in psychedelics for being a decidedly humanistic investigation into psychedelics. Perhaps that's a good time for me to remind us all to silence our cell phones. I promise that wasn't staged, but whoever's phone that is, thank you. Your timing was impeccable. So the Center for the Study of World Religions is delighted to be a part of this cross-campus collaboration, and we are especially pleased to work alongside our partners, the Mahindra Humanities Center and the Petrie Flom Center for Healthcare and Policy at Harvard Law School. So this conference would not be possible without the help of a lot of dedicated and talented colleagues. First, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the center's staff: Sarah Iannotti, Bashwar Khan, Lori Sedgwick, and Gosha Skladowska. Colleagues, would you mind standing just for a moment? I don't know who else is here. Lori, are you around? She's usually, no? Okay. Gosha, you stand for a minute. This is Gosha. This is Gosha. Thank you all. Let's give everybody a round of applause. The rest of them are hiding, but Gosha, they're working. They're working. In any case, it is a delight to work with this team. And any of you who work with teams know how crucial it is for there to be a good esprit de corps, and the center is blessed to have just a wonderful team. I'm really privileged to work with this team, so thank you. I'd also like to thank our student volunteers who've pitched in to make this day a success. Also, our colleagues in the HDS Facilities Department who do all of the hard work of making these spaces so comfortable for us. And of course, the HDS media team, especially Bob DeVoe and Robbie Rhodes, who are recording and helping us broadcast this event. So thank you all so much for your support. And the Center's programming in psychedelics and spirituality is part of a broader initiative that we call Transcendence and Transformation, or T&T for short. And I want to thank Elizabeth Rovera and Brian O'Kelly for their generous support of T&T. It was their gift several years ago, their original gift, that allowed us to get the T&T initiative off the ground. And this conference follows on the heels of last year's, the first of ours entitled Psychedelic Intersections, but this is in fact the third annual conference. We changed the name after the first. So I'm very excited to announce that the proceedings from last year's conference have just been published. They're available open access. They're available digitally on the CSWR website, and you can also download them as a PDF. All three conferences on psychedelics and spirituality have been largely conceived and executed by my colleagues Jeffrey Breaux and Paul Gillis-Smith, who are the Center's two program leads for psychedelics and spirituality, and essentially the co-founders and co-organizers of this series. So it's my great pleasure now to introduce Jeffrey and Paul. I won't ask Jeff to stand because he will stand shortly to introduce our keynote, but Paul is in the back. So I'll introduce Paul in a moment. Actually, why don't I introduce Paul right now, because you're all looking at him. Paul Gillis-Smith primarily works at the intersections of religion and psychopharmaceutical medicine. Paul's currently developing a spiritual care protocol for ketamine infusion therapy at Brigham and Women's Faulkner Hospital. He's also presented research on Maria Sabina, the mystical experience questionnaire, and an immanent philosophical paradigm for mysticism. If you don't know what that means, please ask Paul. Now, Jeff Breaux, who will soon take the podium, his research focuses on contemporary psychedelic churches and psychedelic chaplaincy. He's conducting a multi-site ethnography of novel psychedelic spiritual communities here in the United States. He's also an advisor to the Brigham and Women's Faulkner Hospital Ketamine Integration Chaplaincy Program, and he is a project-affiliated research of Pulse at the Petrie Flom Center at Harvard Law School. So Jeffrey and Paul, it is a delight to work with you both. I'm really deeply grateful for your judgment, your expertise, and your leadership in this space. So would you all please join me in thanking Jeff and Paul for bringing us all together. Finally, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to today's many brilliant speakers who are joining us from near and far and who are speaking on wide-ranging topics, and a special word of welcome to our two keynote speakers, Elias Garcia Mendez and Marian Goodell. Thank you all for taking the time to join us, remotely or in person, and I look forward to learning from you over the course of the day. So Jeff will now take the stage to introduce the first of our two keynote speakers, and we'll return to the podium in the afternoon to introduce our second keynote speakers, and Paul will take to the podium at the end of the day to deliver closing remarks. Thank you once again for joining us. It's a pleasure to host you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Professor Stang, for the generous introduction. As Professor Stang mentioned, my name is Jeffrey Breaux, and I'm a program lead here at the Center for the Psychedelics and Spirituality Initiative. And it is a role that I truly have the pleasure of serving in alongside Paul Gillis-Smith, a friend, colleague, and co-founder of this conference. I want to extend the thanks that Professor Stang delivered to Professor Stang and just sincerely thank him for all of his leadership and stewardship of the Psychedelics and Spirituality Initiative, as well as the many, many other programs that are happening at the center. I also want to second his thanks to the CSWR staff and our many student assistants, to the Harvard Divinity School staff, faculty, and leadership, to our speakers and audience members, to the Harvard Museum of Science and Culture, who helped bring our keynote speaker, Elias, here, and also his beautiful artwork. And also want to extend thanks to the Gracias Family Foundation, who makes this event free and accessible, along with lots of other programming we do. As we open the third annual Psychedelic Intersections Conference, I wanted to take a minute to reflect on the vision that guides the center's Psychedelics and Spirituality Initiative. This conference, like all of our psychedelics programming and research, strives to be multidisciplinary and collaborative, to be engaged with and to extend beyond the academy, to be optimistic but self-aware, and to be equal parts compassionate and rigorous. This vision is one that connects to the core commitments that were laid out for the Center for the Study of World Religions when it was founded in 1958. The anonymous gift that led to the center's founding was accompanied by a call for comparative scholarship that would be accessible to the general public, would be attentive to historic as well as contemporary practices, and that would approach religious life, to use their words, sympathetically, by prioritizing the experiences of global believers themselves. The founding call went on to say that, quote, the tools of analysis should be those of scholarly integrity and sympathetic spiritual insight, end quote. In today's Psychedelics and Spirituality program, we work to advance rigorous, well-researched contributions to scholarly discourse. But it is also just as important that when we do so, we foreground curiosity and understanding of diverse perspectives on their own terms. We want to keep a critical eye on issues of ethics and risks, but we believe that arguments are strongest when they come from a place of sympathetic understanding that challenges outdated assumptions and legal statuses. As a result of the war on drugs, sympathetic engagement with psychedelic spiritualities has not only been hard to find, it has been actively suppressed. When research with psychedelics was criminalized, even scholarly interest in these substances became suspect. Those who researched these substances have risked being labeled as unserious or as druggy sympathizers. Yet a deficit in sympathetic inquiry results in a lack of intelligent inquiry. When scholars are unable to ask questions and pursue their work openly, when collaboration is stifled by skepticism and disciplinary siloing, and when academics fail to engage seriously with practitioners, our research and therefore our understanding can only go so far. If we are to do meaningful work as a field, our scholarship needs both intelligence and sympathy. Thankfully, the field of psychedelics studies has advanced considerably since the war on drugs began in the 1970s, and I am buoyed by the wealth of intelligent and sympathetic scholarship that will be presented here today. But amid our open and bold discussions, it is all the more crucial that we appreciate how rare it is to be in a space like this. These substances remain criminalized. People around the world continue to be imprisoned or killed because of the drugs that we study. Indigenous traditions and practitioners continue to be marginalized and oppressed. Sincere psychedelic religions continue to fight for the right to exist. Now, scholarship is not the same as advocacy, of course, and we may not agree on the best ways to balance safety or liberty, or honestly, anything else for that matter. But as the day unfolds, I hope that we will all keep in mind that intelligent and sympathetic research is not just a scholarly endeavor, it is a moral imperative. And with that, let me turn now to some logistics for the day. First, I want to let you know that our entire program is available digitally on this little QR code that's here on the screen. There's also printed programs available down at the registration table. Signs outside of this room will point you to the restrooms, which are located on this floor and the floor below us. And signs will also point you to the 3 rooms where panels will be held. This, where we are now, is the James Room, which is where all plenary sessions will be. The Cotter Room is just outside to the left, and it will hold concurrent panels and a live stream of the keynote remarks. And the Braun Room, which will hold the 1:30 workshop with Pulse, can be accessed just by following this hall all the way down to the end of the to this floor of the Divinity School. Finally, just to let you know, there will be lunch served at 12:30, and that will be in the commons where you picked up your name badges. Also, we have nearly 1,000 people registered on Zoom, so this is a quick message to all of you out there. We have 2 Zoom rooms. You are in one of them right now if you are hearing me. All of the James Room events will be in the room you're currently in, and there's an additional Zoom room that will have the Cotter Room events playing in it. You should have received an email with those Zoom links, as well as the programming. Lastly, it's a very full day. We have 25 presenters coming in from literally around the world. And given the full schedule, we ask that everyone hold their questions until all of the presenters have had a chance to speak in a given panel. Following our evening keynote by Marian Goodell, our proceedings for the day will close at 6:15 and will be followed by a reception on the floor below. I look forward to joining you all there to digest the day and to chart new paths at the crossroads of psychedelic studies. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker of the day, Elias Garcia Mendez. Elias Garcia Mendez is from Huautla de Jimenez in the state of Oaxaca, Mexico. In 2021, Garcia Mendez co-founded Casa Adobe with a collective of Mazatec painters. He has generously opened his home to this initiative and serves as its director. In this role, he organizes and supports exhibitions, workshops, cultural activities, and classes that engage both youth and audiences of all ages. Some of his artwork, as I mentioned earlier, is presented around the conference hall, and I hope you all get a chance to appreciate the truly beautiful paintings that come from Casa Adobe. Casa Adobe is the first art gallery and cultural space in Huautla, and it is dedicated to strengthening Mazatec culture and identity through the arts. Garcia Mendez is a member of the Mazatec community. The Mazatec people are an indigenous community renowned, among many other things, for their foundational role in the contemporary understanding of the healing properties of psilocybin mushrooms. Huautla de Jimenez and Sierra Mazateca was where Gordon Wasson met Maria Sabina and witnessed her mushroom practice 72 years ago, which led to the global North's fascination with the region, their mushrooms, and Maria Sabina, the healer. Garcia Mendez's efforts to promote the arts, preserve cultural heritage, and uplift indigenous artists are grounded in collaboration with the local community. In addition to his work at Casa Adobe, Garcia Mendez is an elementary school teacher at Escuela Primaria Luis Benito Juarez. There, he develops projects with his students to explore and preserve the Mazatec cosmovision, fostering a deeper understanding of their cultural heritage. Garcia Mendez's remarks will be delivered in Spanish and translated by Emily Getchell. With that, I welcome Elias to the stage. Thank you.
Bien, buenos días. Buenos días. Dali se dice en mazateco. Dali. Estoy muy emocionado de estar acá en Harvard, de poder dar a conocer el trabajo que estamos desarrollando en Huautla de Jiménez.
Okay, Dali is what we say in Mazateca, and I am really happy to be here at Harvard sharing with you the work that we do in Jiménez.
Antes que nada, quiero hacer un reconocimiento a quien fue la base de este trabajo, a mi abuelo, Isauro Méndez. Ahorita aporto su cotón.
First of all, I'd like to just give a recognition to the foundation of my involvement in this work, which was my grandfather. ¿Su nombre de su abuelo era?
Isauro Méndez.
Sabulo Méndez, and I am wearing his clothing now.
Igualmente a mi madre, porque ella hizo mucho del trabajo de donde hoy está la Galería Casa Adobe.
And also to my mother, who did a lot of the work where the Galería Adobe stands now.
Y sobre todo a mi familia y a los pintores que colaboran con este hermoso proyecto que está destinado a la comunidad.
And most of all to my family and to the artists which collaborate with this beautiful work, which is for the benefit of the community.
Podría yo hablar de muchas cosas de mi comunidad, desde su territorio, su lengua, sus costumbres y tradiciones, pero hoy quiero hablar solamente de un tema, el trabajo.
And I could speak to you about lots of things about my community, about the pillars of the land, about its language, about its customs. But today I'd like to speak with you just about one thing, which is its work.
Eh, Hay una actividad muy importante para nosotros los mazatecos, es el Shabase. Shabase es un trabajo comunitario en el cual la comunidad se une para poder tratar algún problema, trabajar para que la comunidad tenga caminos limpios, para si alguien muere, la comunidad se une para poder ayudarlo.
And there is an important work which we do in our community, which is called Chavasen. And this is a work in which the community comes together to facilitate a healing and to open clean avenues for people to walk on. And if there is, for example, someone who died in the community, we will come together in that effort.
Y también quiero hablar con ustedes sobre cómo se desarrolla el Shabase en mi comunidad, cómo se desarrolla dentro del mundo espiritual y sobre todo cómo se desarrolla dentro de la galería.
And I'd like to speak with you today about how the Chavasen is, how this work evolves within the community, how it involves in the spiritual world, and how it involves, importantly, within the gallery.
Esta obra que ustedes ven es de una niña de 11 años. Ella lo pinta porque su padre le está inculcando de que es importante hacer trabajo comunitario.
And so this work that you see here was made by an 11-year-old girl, and she was making it because she's reflecting the importance that her parents impart to her, that work for the community is important.
El Shabase no solamente es ir a trabajar, es una forma de poder disipar problemas, de poder crear nuevos proyectos para la comunidad y sobre todo de socializarse y de convivir una vez a la semana.
And the Ravasen is not just a way to work together, but it's a work to dissipate problems. It's a way to be in community and to come together at least once a week.
Cada uno aporta su energía, aporta su tiempo, la gente mayor acude. Sin embargo, también quiero ser sincero, se ha estado perdiendo, pero estamos luchando para preservarlo.
Mm-hmm. Everyone comes together and everyone helps. And the old people, discúlpame, acuden los mayores.
Los adultos y los jóvenes, pero se está perdiendo.
Mm-hmm. This is something for which the adults, as well as the children and older people, come together. But to be honest, we are unfortunately losing this, and we're doing what work we can to keep it going.
En este espacio, la comunidad se llena de energía. Al sentirse partícipes de este trabajo, ellos pueden confiadamente dar sus opiniones en favor de la comunidad.
And in this setting, people bring their energy and they can feel a confidence in bringing their ideas towards the community.
Voy a estar hablando mucho sobre el tema de energía porque Huautla energéticamente es muy fuerte.
And I'm going to be speaking about energy because this work energetically is very strong.
Los viejos, la gente grande, antes de ser un curandero, tuvo que haber hecho mucho trabajo comunitario porque de la tierra, de la gente, es donde obtiene la sabiduría y obtiene una buena energía.
The elders, the healers, have had to go through many years of doing community work because it is from the community and from the land that they obtain their wisdom.
El que ven acá se llama Crescencio García, es un curandero que yo conocí hace mucho tiempo. Él era el curandero de la familia.
This is Crescencio Garcia that you are seeing here, and he is a healer that I've known for a long time, and he was the family healer.
Él hizo ceremonia con mi familia y al terminar, él me leyó el maíz y fue muy interesante lo que él pudo discernir en esa lectura.
He did a lot of healing work with my family, and at the end, he read the corn kernels, and it was very interesting what he could discern from that.
Cuando él tiró el maíz, me dice, hubo un maíz que empezó a saltar mucho.
When he threw the corn, he said to me, well, there was one kernel that was jumping a lot.
Y se rió y con su sonrisa me transmitió mucha confianza. Me dice, tú vas a viajar mucho.
And he smiled and he spoke to me confidentially and he said, you are going to travel a lot.
Quizás por eso estoy acá.
Maybe that's why I'm here.
Y pero eso es dentro del plano físico. Ellos ven más el plano espiritual.
But that is on the physical plane. They see further into the spiritual plane.
En las ceremonias en las que he participado, he viajado mucho al Viejo Egipto, he viajado mucho al Perú, también he viajado un poco al futuro y entonces yo veo como que más esa lectura que él hizo del maíz.
In the ceremonies that I've participated in, I've traveled to ancient Egypt, I've traveled to Peru, I've traveled a little bit in the future, so maybe I'm seeing a little bit more of what he spoke to me about in his ceremony with the corn.
Eso es importante de entender porque antes de que el curandero pueda trabajar con nuestros cuerpos, con nuestros espíritus, debe de estar lleno de muy buena energía, de mucho trabajo comunitario.
And that is super interesting to important to understand because before the healer can work with us, it's extremely important that he be filled with very good energy, with very good intention.
Mucha gente acude a los curanderos cuando siente malestares físicos o espirituales y debe saber capitalizar esa energía, debe tener mucha bondad dentro de su corazón.
So many people come to the healers when they have sort of a dis-ease, whether it be spiritual, whether it be physical, emotional, and the healer has to know how to make the best of that good energy.
Cuando él empieza la ceremonia, debe de haber un trabajo comunitario también. Debe haber un rabasé entre el curandero y el paciente. Ambos deben de trabajar en conjunto.
Before the ceremony begins, it's important that there exists some kind of chavasen between the person who has come for the healing and the healer. They have to do some kind of work together.
Ellos piden la ayuda de las deidades mazatecas, las deidades como el señor del trueno, como la diosa de la lluvia, de la tierra. Algunos piden esas ayudas, algunos otros piden ayudas de los chicones, que son los dueños de los ríos, los dueños de los pozos, de las montañas.
Some ask for help from the deities. They ask for help from the deities who rule over the land, who rule over the territories, and others ask for help from the chacones, who are more deities in charge of the rivers, in charge of the lakes and ponds and the mountains.
Ellos, dependiendo de la situación, abren portales que ayudan a curar al paciente. Estos portales que se abren durante la ceremonia pueden ser muy difíciles de acceder, pueden ser muy complicados, pero con la ayuda de estas deidades, pueden lograrlo.
During the ceremony, they open portals, important portals that can lead to the healing of the people they are working with. Sometimes these portals are incredibly difficult to access, but with the help of the deities, they can do so.
Esto es una forma de hacer trabajo comunitario, pero espiritual. Aquí podemos ver una obra donde en la parte de arriba están los chicones, así los representa el pintor para hacer la sanación de diversas enfermedades.
So this is a type of work that's a community work which is spiritual in nature. Here in this painting we can see that the chacones have been represented in their role in doing this spiritual work.
Para nosotros no hay límites. Los curanderos cuando logran trabajar con el paciente pueden desarrollar cirugías, pueden desarrollar temas muy complejos que a veces están solamente adjudicados a la ciencia.
When this work is done, it's a very complex spiritual work, and in process, the healers can do things which are on a level of a surgery. They can access very complicated technical terms and information.
Como ven, se pueden hacer sanaciones del corazón, pueden hacer sanaciones del ADN. El curandero, sin tener estudios, puede tocar conceptos que están adjudicados a la ciencia.
It is a work from our perspective which is without limits. As you can see here, they can work on the heart, they can work on the DNA, they can work on many facets which we typically just assign to science.
El curandero tiene la capacidad también de transformarse en un nahual, el cual le permite trabajar más confiadamente con el paciente.
And also, a healer can transform himself into another being, which would allow him to work more effectively with a patient.
Es un poco complejo, ya que durante el trance, durante la ceremonia, el curandero es capaz de transformarse no solamente en uno, sino en otro, y poder ir no solamente a un lugar, sino a diferentes lugares buscando cuál es la mejor cura.
It's a little bit complicated because during the course of a ceremony, a healer could transform himself not just into one being, but into maybe one being and then another, and travel to one place or a different place in order to find what is going to be most helpful.
Es un trabajo de un desgaste de energía muy intenso, ya que toda esa cantidad de elementos que tiene que manejarlos, tiene que capitalizar bien. Se desgasta también, hay un consumo dentro de su cuerpo, hay un desgaste muy fuerte, y eso es algo que quizás no lo ve el paciente.
Mm-hmm. And this work requires an immense amount of energy, which is exhausting, and there's so many elements that the healer has to manage in pursuing the healing, and often this is something that the patient cannot see.
El objetivo de la ceremonia es sanar, no es tener viajes fantásticos, no es tener un momento ahí de alegría, no. El objetivo es simplemente sanar. Los pacientes van confiadamente a ver al curandero para este tema.
And the objective of the ceremony is purely to heal. It's not to have some fantastic voyage, to have some tremendous fun. People go there purely with the objective of healing, and that's what the ceremony is for.
Pero, ¿cómo podemos sanar si estamos mal con nuestro prójimo? ¿Cómo podemos sanar si no hacemos trabajo comunitario? Antes de ir a una ceremonia, debemos de tener una buena relación con la Madre Tierra, una buena relación con las personas, no decir malas palabras, no comer ciertas comidas.
Perdón, el último de la comida.
No comer comida que sea color negro.
So before someone comes to this work, which is a healing work, we have to ask ourselves, how can we heal if we are not in good relation with those closest to us, if we are not in good relation to the land? So it's important that when we come to this work, we are in good relation to our closest and the land. And it's important that we not eat food which are black in color. Así es. Yeah.
Sí, hay ciertas rituales antes donde no tenemos que comer, por ejemplo, frijol negro, no podemos tomar café, porque esos colores como que no están muy en relación con la ceremonia.
There are certain rituals that we have and certain requirements. For example, before you would not have black beans or you would not have coffee because these kind of foods are not really in line with the ceremony.
Cuando ya se termina la ceremonia, hay mucha tranquilidad, hay una descarga, el alma se siente muy, muy ligera. Y esto es un buen signo, ya que el paciente y el curandero saben que han hecho un buen trabajo.
At the end of the ceremony, there is a tranquility, there is a tremendous lightness of the soul, and that's how the healer and the patient know that a good work has been done.
Cuando vuelven después de la ceremonia y volvemos a este espacio físico, el cuerpo se siente también fuerte, fortalecido. Y desde luego el trance pues nos hace hacer este tipo de imágenes en la cabeza, símbolo de que ya estamos regresando de una operación, de un viaje, de una sanación.
And at the end, a body will feel in peace, it will feel revitalized and strengthened. And this sort of image shows the return to the physical realm and how we might feel.
Se entonan cantos, se agradece a las deidades, se agradece a los chicones el trabajo espiritual que han hecho en nuestro cuerpo. Y desde luego hay un cambio diferente en la percepción del hombre hacia la vida, cambia totalmente, se vuelve un sujeto un poco más consciente de su papel en la comunidad.
And on coming back to the realm, there is a profound change in the person in that they are more conscious, they might have a different perspective towards the community. Discúlpame, el primero que usted dijo allá.
Que hay cantos.
Oh, there are chants that are done, different kinds of intonation that are part of the returning. Gracias.
Todo esto es un trabajo, es un shabase que hacen tanto los chicones, las deidades, el curandero, el paciente. Es un trabajo también que se desarrolla dentro del mundo espiritual.
All this is a chacón, is a Shavasana, which is the communal work that happens, which is also a spiritual work. It happens between members of the community, the healer, the patient, the deities, the chacones.
El trabajo ahora que nosotros hacemos dentro de la Galería Casa de Adobe también es un shabase artístico.
And the work that we do in the gallery of Casa Adobe is also a Shavasana. It's an artistic Shavasana.
Nosotros nos creamos con la finalidad de ofrecer un espacio a la comunidad donde se pudiera reencontrarse.
We created this space with the intention of offering the community with a space where they could come together and reacquaint themselves.
Y desde acá pues quiero agradecer a todos esos pintores, artesanos, quienes hacen su shabase, porque lo hacen con el único objetivo de seguir preservando nuestras costumbres y tradiciones.
And I would like to thank all the artisans, all the painters who have participated, because they do it only with the objective of preserving our culture.
Y también a mucha gente que a lo mejor no es pintora, pero que con su apoyo hemos podido desarrollar mucho trabajo con la comunidad local, pero también con la comunidad nacional y también con la extranjera.
And I'd also like to thank people who maybe are not artists, but who have supported us in such a way that we have been able to bring this beyond the community, maybe at a national or an international level.
Se abrió con el único objetivo de que los niños y jóvenes puedan desarrollar este tipo de habilidades. Como ustedes saben, la mayor parte de los ingresos en una comunidad se destinan a infraestructuras, a caminos, a bailes, pero muy poco a la cultura.
And they have done this with the intention only that the younger people could become involved and expand this awareness of our culture. You know that a lot of the times the infrastructure funds are dedicated to the infrastructure of a physical type, the roads itself, maybe to dances, but very little to the culture.
Él es Sergio Nieto, es uno de los artistas más grandes en edad que está con nosotros y tiene más de 50 años trabajando. Su trabajo no ha sido reconocido como tal, ha estado luchando, picando piedra todos los años y abrimos este espacio junto con él para poder brindarle ese reconocimiento.
And here you see Sergio Nieto, who is one of the greatest painters that we're involved with, and he's been working now for more than 50 years. He's still not very well known, but he keeps working little by little, and so we've also opened our space to him with the intention of helping him gain some recognition.
Nuestro trabajo no solamente abarca la pintura, sino también la lengua, la escultura y demás, porque creemos y consideramos necesario que nuestra lengua se debe de preservar. Es una forma muy, muy distinta a la que comúnmente utilizamos como el español o el inglés.
Mm-hmm. And so our space is dedicated not only to painting, but also to the development of learning around our language and the preservation of our language, because we understand this to be a very, very important part of preserving our culture.
Es muy poético. Por ejemplo, nosotros cuando nos vemos decimos buenos días, ¿cómo estás? En el lenguaje mazateco se dice Hotson y Malindipa, que quiere decir, ¿qué dice tu corazón, hijo?
And our language is quite different than Spanish. It's a very poetic and lyrical language. For example, in Spanish, when we see each other, we say, hello, how are you? Whereas in Mazatec language, que si me lo puede repetir, por favor, we say,
Hotson y Malindipa.
¿qué significa?
¿Qué dice tu corazón?
Which translates to, what does your heart say?
Y bueno, el trabajo que hacemos también está pues muy ligado con los artistas. Ellos pueden llegar, colocar sus obras. Nosotros no les cobramos, no buscamos lucro allí. El único objetivo que tenemos es que toda la comunidad, desde los niños que vienen desde las rancherías, las personas humildes que pasan sobre la calle puedan entrar confiadamente a ver las obras e identificarse con ellas.
And our gallery space is a space that we offer with great involvement with the artists. We don't charge or anything for it. We just let them expose their art and are pleased to have a space which is open to anyone who is coming down the road, the humble people who can approach, and it's accessible to them.
Regularmente estos espacios están destinados a cierta clase social, donde exhiben fotografías, pinturas de artistas indígenas, y muy raramente una gente de la comunidad va. Entonces queremos cambiar esa forma, queremos que la gente se enriquezca con lo que es lo suyo.
Mm-hmm. So typically these spaces are accessible, open to a certain class of people. And we'd like to change that. We'd like to make it so that people, any humble person, any member of the community can come and be enriched by this culture.
Cada una de las obras que se exhiben en la galería tiene una historia, un viaje, un conocimiento ancestral. De esta manera queremos que los niños y jóvenes sepan de la gran riqueza cultural que hay dentro de la comunidad mazateca.
Each of the works which are displayed in the gallery have a very rich cultural component and rich cultural message, and we'd like it to be accessible for the young people of the community to understand the richness of the culture from whence they came.
Hemos tenido la oportunidad de que hay gente que va a hacer ceremonia y antes de hacer ceremonia acude a la galería. Y cuando hablamos de este tema, cuando ellos ven las pinturas, regresan nuevamente y están muy agradecidos ya que la energía, las obras pudieron ayudarle mucho a sanar.
Que se van a hacer demonios, que van a coger mal camino. And a lot of times people will come to the gallery who are sort of perhaps going on a demonic path, and they are exposed to the gallery and to those works, and later they come and thank us, and they recognize that the works help them to heal.
Nuestro espacio tiene la fortuna en que acuden todas nuestras tradiciones. Ahí podemos ver a un grupo de huehuentones que junto con las obras hacen un espectáculo muy bonito dentro de la galería, y esto para nosotros es muy importante ya que no está separado de la comunidad, ya que pueden entrar confiadamente al espacio, poder desarrollar este ritual.
And we are fortunate that in our gallery space, we can accommodate and welcome all kinds of events. Here we see the Huehuentones, who are a group who do a musical performance which interacts with the arts. And we're fortunate because we can allow them to come and do this openly.
Cuando hay este tipo de fechas, hay varios pintores que exhiben sus obras en relación a este tema. Nosotros vamos cambiando constantemente de pinturas porque de acuerdo a la fecha lo vamos haciendo, ¿no? Por ejemplo, en el Día de Muertos exhibimos muchas obras en relación a los Días de Muertos.
So in our gallery, depending on the date and the special event, we will change the artwork up and permit for different things to go on in the space. For example, during time of the Day of the Dead, we will exhibit lots of works that relate to the dead.
Pero la galería no solamente está dentro. Nosotros queremos que la galería, el trabajo con los artistas, también se vaya allá afuera, hacia las comunidades. Es muy complicado ver murales que rescaten la cultura de las comunidades. Nosotros con el trabajo de los artistas en ese Rabasén queremos ir con los artistas a las comunidades, que los niños de allí puedan participar para realizar un mural.
And our work in the gallery does not just stay within the gallery, but we'd like to take it out into the streets, out into the communities. It's very difficult and complicated to do a community mural, for example, something of our culture outside, but we'd like to do it in such a way that the young people and members of the community can be involved in the work as a Rabasén.
Y el Rabasén lo hace todos los días el pintor. Ahí vemos a un pintor muy extraordinario, se llama Asunción Alvarado, un conocedor muy profundo de nuestras raíces. Y quizás no lo ven en la comunidad porque él está trabajando, él está buscando continuamente plasmar nuestra cosmovisión dentro de sus obras.
And here you see Asunción Alvarado, who is an incredible artist who has very rich knowledge and roots in our community. And the artist is working, doing his Rabasén continually, day and night. So he might not always be going out, but he is doing a work which is very much rooted in our culture and our tradition.
Y ustedes saben, el gobierno a veces implementa programas para modificar la ley En alguna ocasión tuve la oportunidad de decirles que es importante darle el lugar a cada artista.
You know that sometimes the governments will modify laws, and I had the opportunity of telling the government that I thought it was very important that artists were given their place.
Porque él es un intelectual de su comunidad, él puede aportar mucho a su comunidad. Todas las casas, por ejemplo, todas las casas son cuadradas, o todos los monumentos o los espacios públicos tienen una infraestructura muy cuadrada. Si le dieran la oportunidad al artista, él o ella, de poder dar una opinión, les aseguro que las infraestructuras serían totalmente distintas.
Because he is an intellectual and he is one who could bring much to his community. For example, when we look at the infrastructure, all the houses are square. I promise you that if we allowed the artists, things would look very different.
Cada obra es una nueva oportunidad que le da a los visitantes de poder concientizar sobre su riqueza, sobre la profundidad que tiene nuestra cultura mazateca.
Each work of art is different and in its own way brings to the viewer the possibility to expand his awareness of the richness of the Mazateca culture.
Y para este rabasé que se hace con los artistas, la mujer juega un papel importante. Nosotros dentro de la galería tenemos a 2 mujeres artistas que nos ayudan a ver, porque regularmente en mi comunidad el arte está destinado para hombres y hay muy pocas mujeres y entonces están creciendo con ellas un semillero de estudiantes.
And the woman plays a very important part in the Javasen in our community. Typically, there are very few women artists, but now there is a seed that's being planted and they are growing as important members of this community because they can see things.
Esta obra es de Jacinto García y explora básicamente el trabajo que hacen las mujeres ahí. Es una actividad en la cual ayudan al hombre, a los jóvenes, ya sea de día, ya sea de noche, a mantener nuestra cultura viva.
And this work here that you see by Jacinto Garcia is referencing the importance of the women in the work. Whether they're working in the day or the night, they're helping the men, they're helping the youth participate in this work and see the importance of the culture.
Esta obra simboliza el trabajo duro, la experiencia y la resistencia. Nosotros resistimos mucho porque todos los estereotipos, las modas que hay por parte de los medios masivos en que así te debes de vestir, así debes de comer, esto debes de hablar. Estamos resistiendo con eso. Es muy fuerte.
This work is, our work shows hard work, shows resistance, and shows experience. Because within everything, there is, discúlpame, si me puede explicar un poco de nuevo eso, perdóname.
Todos los estereotipos que hay por parte de los medios en que nos dicen que así nos debemos de vestir, esto debemos de comer, esto debemos de hablar, estamos resistiendo contra eso para preservar.
Yes, because all the stereotypes, the way they tell you, this is how you should look, this is what you should eat, this is what you should do, we have to resist all of this in order to preserve our culture.
Para algunos el sueño americano es acá. Para nosotros, la comunidad es nuestra mayor riqueza.
For many, the American dream is here. But for us, the community is our greatest wealth.
Desde allá empieza el sueño americano.
And that's where the American dream starts.
Desde allá, sí. Creo que en estos momentos en que estamos viendo mucho la destrucción de nuestro planeta, es necesario que todas las naciones, todas las culturas podamos hacer trabajo comunitario.
I think at this moment, when we're witnessing the destruction of our planet, it would be wonderful if everyone, the whole planet, could participate in community work.
Todavía estamos a tiempo de salvar. Y nosotros como mazatecos en nuestra forma de pensar, hemos platicado con los artistas en formar un sujeto que sea consciente de su entorno.
We still have time to salvage, and I think that within our community, it's very important the work that we do with artists in order to become aware of our surroundings.
Nosotros tenemos muchos sueños, tenemos muchos proyectos en puerta. Queremos hacer muchas cosas con la comunidad a manera de Shabase. Sí,
We have much work, we have many projects underway, many things that we would like to do with the community in Rabasen.
si ustedes quieren hacer Shabase con nosotros, pueden acercarse confiadamente, ya que este proyecto es sin apoyo gubernamental, lo estamos haciendo con el simple hecho o el amor que le tenemos a nuestra tierra.
If you are interested in doing Rabasen work, you can approach without fear. This is all done without government funding. This is something that we do simply with the intention of healing.
Todas las obras que ustedes ven aquí a su alrededor es con el fin de ayudar al artista. El artista no tiene ningún pago monetario de nadie. Si ustedes quieren adquirir una obra, el dinero irá al artista y el artista seguirá trabajando.
All the artwork you see here is thanks to the artists. The artists do not receive any money. If you would like to obtain any of the artwork that you see here, the money will go directly to the artist.
Con esto quiero agradecer mucho la oportunidad que me dan de poder presentarles el proyecto, nuestra cultura mazateca, y muchas gracias, los llevo en el corazón.
And with that, I would like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to share about our project, to share about the Mazateca culture, and I thank you with my heart.
Gracias.
cswr.hds.harvard.edu, copyright 2025, the President and Fellows of Harvard College.